So when they talk about firmament in the Bible, you don't believe that?
So when they talk about heaven, right?
No,
you don't believe in the firmament.
No.
You don't believe
You've got the firmament of heaven. You've got the firmament of heaven, and you've got the so the firmament. So you record me?
Yeah, you don't mind, do you?
So
I record my friends if it makes you uncomfortable. Are you a vicar?
So no, I'm
You've got the dog collar on.
I'm a deacon.
A deacon, okay.
Yeah. So
I'm Dave. I'm a living man, and I represent God. I am a representative of God.
all right.
I say that unfortunately, part of this deception is that people can't realize, even intelligent people. I at 13 said to my preacher, the earth is flat and unmoving according to the Bible in the Genesis. It has a roof. The lights of the sun and the moon come after the earth, so it's subject to those small lights, which is completely against the science that I was learning at the same time in junior school. So that's where I start from. Now, for a guy like you who's been in the system this long, it's hard for you to see that water's still level. No matter how small the font, how large the lake, that body of water is always going to come to level. We're told that after a distance, it's going to start to curve around some ball, right? Well, that's what we're told, but can you go out and measure that? And God says, test everything. So we're meant to go and test it. So we've gone out and tested it. Good Christians, others have gone out and tested it. And found,
God says test it.
we cannot, and this is what we intuitively know, that the ship over a lake of 10 miles is, a boat, is going on a flat body of water. 100 miles, still a flat body of water. He's not going downhill. He's not coming uphill. And God's design, where it says, God looks down on his handiwork, and he can look down on us like crickets and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, God's can do anything, but the idea that he would look down on a ball and see what's underneath the ball makes no sense. It makes much more sense that we're inside of a ball, and then we're in the middle of that ball, because God's given us the orange, the apple. These are examples of how it might work, that if you cut that orange through like that, or cut it down top to bottom, and you open it up, you see in that pod, this little seed pod, that if you magnified it up 1 million times would be your continents. And the water, the moisture, the thin stuff is above us, the heavy stuff is below us, and everything that's heavy has gone down, and everything that light continues to go up. And all of that must be contained, because name me one creature or one animal on God's earth that has no skin, or that grows its fruit on the outside of the peel. It can't happen. I wring this tree, it dies. I peel the orange, it dries. Everything needs a nut, an eggshell, something to contain it in whatever the waters above, separate the waters from the waters. If there's waters, okay. I've got no beef about what's outside. I'm just saying that it has to be under thermodynamics, and that what we observe in nature, it has to be contained in a skin. And that's where I'm at.
What we taught is a violation against the thermodynamics.
So what I was saying there, right, was like, so take Lemessur's argument, right? So when he talks of the Big Bang, the reason he talks of a Big Bang is because it's an observable fact, right? That the world is that the universe is expanding. So he judged, right, using mathematics, that there was a force, a Big Bang, within the within the universe, and therefore that we.
Can I bring you back to something in nature then? So quickly, just to say that a tree.
Well, that is nature that I'm talking about.
Yeah. Okay. I'm agreeing with that. I'm agreeing with that. I think that the universe, the orange, if you like, is fattening. The orange that we see in nature will grow through the season, and the tree over the years will become wider around its girth. Would we agree with that? So
only if there's a force. Only if there's a force that.
Okay, so I've got an oak tree that's 1 year old.
That causes that.
I've got oak tree.
Because for us to be able to observe that, right? Like for us to be able to observe that, like we would have to see that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. So but I agree with you, because I see in nature things as they get older get bigger. An oak tree that's 10 years old and an oak tree that's 300 years old. You know that they're very different looking trees. You agree? So why not in nature, if this is nature, or is this not possibly growing? But it would be, again, still needing to be in a bark. It would still need to have a shell. The nut needs to have a container. And that's what God shows us, is that everything must be skinned. Otherwise, it cannot survive in whatever the environment is. So that's why we think that the firmament has to still be there.
But you've gone from talking about two things there, right? So you've gone from talking about things to environment, right? And I think you confuse the two. So like logically, right? A thing and an environment are different things, because an environment is something that one thrives or doesn't thrive in. Okay, where another is.
Yeah, exactly. So let me help you, because we've got an Eden project in this country, right?
No, it does.
And the Eden project, by its name, has a roof over it. The reason for that is because they need to contain the environment and protect everything within it. We're told that there is a violent vacuum, very violent and scary vacuum. We've got asteroids coming in and so on. None of this is divine. Big Bang is 12 billion years old, and it doesn't say that God had an intention to create this, because it's like saying, I'm a mechanic, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw an explosive into a scrapyard and out will come a Formula One.
If the Big Bang happens, right?
That's begging the question, fellas.
So, pardon?
That's begging the question, fellas.
Yeah, no.
If it happens,
but what I'm
I haven't
saying
finished
is,
what I was saying.
Okay.
You need a natural phenomenon to observe, and we haven't got one.
No, but what I'm saying
It's just
is
a story.
that because we have an expanding. Because we have an expanding. It's not just a belief. It's looking at the science. It's looking at the universe, and it's looking at maths and order, right? Because order comes from somewhere, right? So it does come from God, but it doesn't mean that the Big Bang is contrary to that. In fact, actually, what it shows is that actually God can work within that. He can create within that, because, for instance, like if I set off an explosion here, right, would it create order or chaos? Chaos. So
completely the opposite of God. God would intend to create order and would build it in a perfect way.
Absolutely. So I would argue that if you have the Big Bang, right, that has created order. In fact, it hasn't created chaos. It's not only that, but like so I would say that God created order, and that we see within the world that actually it created life. So through that, God has used nature, he's used the environment, right, to bring us about.
He's created.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you taught gravity, the Big Bang, everything's going out. Where's gravity? It's going out, and suddenly gravity comes in, it comes back in. And why hasn't he pulled everything in?
No, well, that would be our tidal pull as well. So, like, if you look at our tidal pull, it shows us quite clearly how gravity works, which points towards gravity. Like, for us to try and prove gravity as
a concept.
Well, it's a concept. Like it's very hard.
It's never been proven.
It's never been proven.
Well, gravity's easy. But gravity's easily debunked. Gas is a mass. Helium is a mass. Helium goes up from the Earth, where gravity is supposedly the strongest. Gravity is the strongest, and the helium balloon gas, which is mass, goes up. And you've got the water cycle. You've got evaporation. You've got nitrogen, hydrogen going up. Gravity is a hoax.
So I think that God created and shows us that gases and liquids all settle in levels or layers in their own strata.
In order.
And it's beautiful. And if I gave you a test tube of all these gases or liquids that were settled perfectly level, and I magnified that up to God's earth.
But why couldn't that be? Why would that have to be flat?
Only because the evidence. When I give you a small test tube, and then I give you a much bigger test tube, and then I give you a lake and do at that level size, it's still giving me the same result, the same level. So we're making then an assumption after some point. So I never got to say this, but there is a formula offered by the globe science that says that if we live on a globe of water, a ball of water, then it has to bend. The surface of the water has to be bending concurrent with the sphericity of the surface.
But water could do that
on its surface.
So So water can bend. Because like water is a liquid,
absolutely. So it can bend, and as what was it? Bruce Lee said, it'll be like the teapot, and the water will take the form of the teapot, but at the top the surface will be level. You know that, so.
So yeah, but in the same sense, if you put it into a ball, like into a curve, like
if you put it into a ball, I would agree with you there, and I think that's where we are. I think we're inside of a ball, and it's pooled with water up until about 2/3 of the way up in rocks.
No, but when we have a gravitational pull as well,
okay,
I'm not a scientist.
No, and your Bible never had gravity in it, by the way. What I say is that the Hebrew cosmology.
You see, I'm not arguing from a religious point of view. I'm arguing from a logical point of view.
Yeah, because a religious point of view really is, like I said, for me it's an antichrist agenda. To say that we came from the Big Bang is an antichrist agenda, and not only that, I think that it's all sex magic, because when they fire those rockets up into the sky, they're phallic-shaped things. A Big Bang is actually an act of sex, and what creates your mother and father when they had that Big Bang, they brought new life. God created new life with the Big Bang. That was your parents having sex. And that is actually, they're almost teasing us, because the only way that life lives here through God is to reproduce itself. We live in an entropic system of self-reproduction. And every time I produce someone else, a child, as you say, then I bring my vibration of my part of God to that. And when you guys talk about the sins of the father, yes, well, we think that the vibration that your father carries will carry into the child. And that's where the kind of the sins come from. But where I'm different from religion is that I say that our God is a loving God who's not going to punish you for your acts here. You decide whether you are going to walk the right way and attend to things as you should do, because the 12 disciples are the 12 disciplines of the Christ that is you. And I think that you are the center, you are the reason, and our religions, our science never wants you to hear that.
Do you believe the earth is on pillars?
Sorry?
Do you believe the earth is on pillars?
Do I believe the earth is
on pillars, like the Bible says?
No.
And the firmament. Do you believe in the firmament?
So I believe in the firmament.
Well, how can you have a firmament on the ball?
So I believe in
how
the firmament.
How can you have a firmament on the ball?
I believe in the
pillars.
Because most people say the firmament went away with the flood. I've heard some people explain it like that there was a firmament that got spread out like a tent. You know, and there's no ball tent ever been made, but tents generally have a flat or a kind of peak.
So no, but then we have the Ark of the Covenants, right, which is the new.
It's up here. This is the Ark of the Covenant. Temple of God is.
So no. Well, you have the ability to be the temple of God now. So because we're not only filled by the Holy Spirit, but we also can receive His body.
Yeah.
And so for one that goes like to go to a Catholic church, right? When he says, "This is my body, this is my blood," right? It's there that like Jesus gives himself to us, because he said, "Unless you eat my body or drink my blood, you have no life in you." You know, and.
Okay, so I've got another way of thinking about that, because you see, for me, God is everything. God is everything that we see around us is God. Yes, man has made things that we can see right now, but God is in everything. So if I eat food, I'm eating the blood, I'm eating the body of God. See, that is the body of God. This is the emanation of God. That's why we should love each other, but God intended for us to have sheep and goats and these sorts of things in the field. This would be God's. This is God. You know, I mean, obviously it's not carrying the spark of God like we are, but that is the body. For me, sorry to say this, but for me, Christianity hides, I think, and with the greatest respect, I was brought up in the same religion, but I think they hide sun worship. I think that they hide putting something other than you as the center, because the Son of God is you, and the Son provided by God is the light for you, and each of us has our own individual sun, moon, and primary star.
No, well, like I think we start with Genesis. The world has been created for man.
Yeah.
You know, so I wouldn't say that it's hiding that fact at all. In fact, it starts there.
Yeah.
Like, God's created and it was good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And He created you and me and everyone, and He sought for us to be good. It was at the fall, right, that we see the inclination to sin. We see the inclination that pulls us away from
good works, you know.
Yeah. Well, it pulls us away from God.
Yeah.
Because
God is good.
Yeah, no, but God desires to be one with us.
Yes.
He desires to be in communication with us.
Yeah, directly.
Yeah.
Like Muslims say, right here in your jugular vein. That's how close God is to you.
So yeah, no, but so he desires that when we are one with him, that's why he desired for us to receive him. Because when one drinks blood, what was the Jewish belief of blood? What was in the blood? Why didn't they drink blood?
What is life? Life.
So, and it's because he desires to give his life to us. He desires that his life is in us. Okay. And so when we receive him, his body and blood within us, it gives us life. And so it goes back to his statement, unless you eat my body and drink my blood, you will have no life in you. And many said, oh, well, how can this be? This is a hard thing. And many walked away that day. And he didn't call back and say, well, this is a symbol. No. He said to the 12, he said, are you going to walk away too? And the point was that he was serious, and that's why on the last day before he died, he took bread, right? And he said, this is my body, this is my blood. Do this in remembrance. So, like, the key thing about this as well is, for a Jew, right? For a Jew, remembrance, right, is to make present, right? And so at that point, when in the Mass, when the priest says, this is my body, this is my blood, right? Jesus is truly present on that altar. And he is truly alive. Heaven and earth touch.
I like that.
And that is truly life.
Well, let me offer you this.
So regardless of whether the world is round, flat, or indifferent, that none of that really matters.
It does if the religious orders are part of hiding it. The same religious orders that you were just citing. Now, I want to offer you something as a thought to what you said. What you just said, I love. I'm really fond of, that idea. But I say to people this, that we are in God, because everything around us is God. I think that
God made us in his image, and he seeks for us to be united with him, and we can do that by hopefully eventually being in heaven with him. Because to be in heaven is to be with God.
Okay, so if God made us in God's image, when you look in the mirror tonight, are you looking into the face of God?
Sorry?
When you look into the mirror tonight, are you looking into the face of God?
I'm looking at he created me as the image. Like, you have Saint Athanasius, who said God became man.
Yeah.
So that we can become like God.
Yeah.
Right? So
let me say this then. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life.
Yeah.
And so I say, if you are God and you say his words verbatim in the mirror tonight, you're telling yourself the most important truth, that the only way to God is through you. Not through anyone else. And when you're consuming the blood of God, for me, I think we live inside of God, and the rocks and the continents are actually part of God's skeletal structure. This is my theory, of course, and I think that the rivers are part of God's blood. And so when we drink God's blood, we might be drinking God's water, and when we eat God's meat, we're drinking the cows and the sheep.
Jesus uses nature, and God uses nature. So we're cleansed by water.
There's two there. You just said two, right? Let me be clear. That's what religion does. It puts another one. For me, God, you. Not God, Jesus, you. That's just like having God, government.
No. But God uses. He uses the physical. Because we use the physical, right? So for instance, like water, right? Water we use for cleansing. We know that, right? But for us to enter into his life, we are baptized, right? So we are baptized with water in the name of the Father and of the Son and the Holy Spirit. Very last thing he said, right? Yeah. He said, go, baptize in the name of the Father, the Son and the Holy Spirit. Yeah. Tell them all that I have told you, and I will be with you to the end of time. right? And it's and that is the mission. That is what he's calling people out to do.
And that's why at the age of 54 now. But a few years ago, I decided to start doing this. It was like I had a calling to, I'd shunned religion actually. I'd shunned God, truthfully, up until that age. And then I was called, and I've been on a mission to go around and inform people, good people that were apartheid racists in South Africa that I grew up in. Anyone can be brainwashed. It's not, none of us is exempt from that thing. We saw what happened in 2020. People just went along with it all over the place. Same with the religious orders. I'm saying, why would they not say, no, God gave us breath. Only God decides when you give your breath away. God gave us an immune system. Only God should decide that your immunity is so weak that you might need to pass this life on. So I do feel like it matters that we realize that there's a massive deception going on against God. Again, it's an antichrist agenda, because I think that the Christ is you. I think that Christ exists within each of us, and what Jesus brought us, the message that he brought us, is divine and important.
Well, he does exist. He exists in us and through us.
Yeah.
And
so God can only express himself and touch himself and
it's through the person Jesus Christ in the Spirit to the Father, right? And that's how we come to know.
We have so many wars.
And
that's why we have so many wars.
No, because there's evil in the world too.
Yeah, but
right?
And use that religion to foment wars. We know what the Catholics did, the Protestants. We know what the Muslims can do. The Jews.
Well, you can have people that use anything, right, to create war, but that's different, right? So
God wouldn't author tools of division. My God would not want for me to choose the club, your club or his club, which would mean that I was now separate from him. That one where we have this one relationship.
No, but it's not about a club. It's about a body.
A body.
And this is the thing: we form one body, one body in Christ, right? And that is the church, right? And that.
So we are the church, not the buildings like Jesus.
No. We are the church, one body in Christ, right? And this is important to understand. Like when we talk church, right, and when the Catholic Church talks church, it's talking about the body of Christ. Because Christ is the head, and we are the body. We are the ones that are sent to go and baptize in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We're the ones that are sent to go out with the word, right? And so, that is where the church is called to do, and that's what the Catholic Church believes. With the body of Christ, that are called to be one body, to go out into the world, to evangelise.
I think a few hundred years ago, the Catholic Church were responsible for quite a lot of, killings and murders and burnings and stuff with people that didn't want to fall in line.
Well, I think if you you can have a revised vision of history, but but I think if we look at it, yes, there's just like any group of people. No. But even
if we love each other.
But even
I love you. Love one another like I do. Unless you're a Muslim, unless you're a Cathar, unless you're I'm sorry. There's no way that I can agree with you that it's acceptable for us to go to war. I went to war at age of 19 in a country called Angola. So I've been there on the front lines.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that it's ever justified. I'm never that. There's very few reasons, I would say, that are justified to go to war. But
in the Qatar, Béziers in France, there's a beautiful cathedral there where they burned 300 Protestants because they weren't converted. People had to hide away from the system. So I think that we live in a world today in which our great-great-grandparents were the survivors of that cuckolding, in which we were beaten back, in which people were burnt and forced to take on a belief system.
Yes, there was things that shouldn't have happened in the past.
Yeah, and
right.
Today.
And yes, they were evil things, and I would argue that are not of the church, right? Okay. And you see, there's a difference of evil men or evil women, for that matter, right? Doing things
for control.
I think it could be perceived as control, But like, I think any person, right, if they don't stay true to what God has asked, right? Because as I said, that as much as you've got the church that is alive and active in the world, you also have the evil one that is alive and active in the world. You have the deceiver. You have the one that is trying to deceive. And so if the church is true, right, I would expect it to be the most attacked organised, the most attacked thing, the most attacked body on the earth.
Try being a flat earther, mate. I think we take it a little harder than the church, you know.
So
I read down here saying that, you know, Jesus lives and what have you. People go, yeah, okay, but I say flat earth, you retard. And for me, my friend, because I can't take off too much of your time, but I just feel like, and I'm not trying to convert you to anything, but to say that I think that we are in a system of deception. I think that Satan may be amongst us, and if he has been amongst us for a time, then given how clever he is as a deceiver, how would we actually know? And so until we can go and test things for ourselves, like outer space, rockets going up there, men in vacuum chambers, men in spacesuits have never been in a vacuum chamber. Until we can test these things for ourselves, we should say, let's put that on the table of caution. But the table is going to have a bowl of water on it. That bowl of water will be level and parallel to the next bowl of water.
No, but I think this is the thing. Like one thing I would give you is that I think there's a difference between saying that something is a theory and something is fact, right? Because you can look at the evidence and take it as far as you can go.
Correct.
So,
unlike with gravity, relativity, and evolution, which is demeaning for me of God's intention. But you know, for us, I used to tell people we came from monkeys. I used to say we came from Africa. I was black once upon a time. If you go back far enough, at one point, before I had blue eyes, my parents had brown eyes, and you know what? They gave birth to a blue-eyed child, which was a real surprise to them all. And I had ginger hair. Can you imagine that? Two Ghanaians having a ginger hair.
But again, that is a scientific theory. So like it's not saying it's fact. Science, because they can't trace it, they can't observe far enough back.
But it hurt me as a child. So
for all science to be called a fact, it has to be observed. So for me, all I'm saying is that from what I look at, right, and what I have observed so far in my life. And that's all I can say.
But you can go further than observation, my friend. You can go to measurement. You see, when you go over from observation, which our God gave us round eyes, and apparently the back of the eye is round, and that causes a rounding of things in the distance, and also water in the atmosphere and the shrinking of things over distance as they go away causes these effects that might make us feel like things are going down. But if a ship was leaving from the port in England, Dover, or something like that, and traveling to France, the guy standing on the beach would say, now it's going down. And the guy standing in France would say, no, it's coming up. So how can it be that? And you can't be both going. You know, it has to be the guy in France should receive it coming from above him.
Well, as I said, I'm not a scientist.
What is level, my brother, Mr. Deacon? It's been really interesting.
It's been a pleasure.
It really has been.
I won't say I'll agree with you. But
no, I don't want you to agree with me.
Can
I ask for one thing?
Open mind.
You are a scientist.
You're a scientist.
Everybody's a scientist.
Yes, we're all scientists.
Oh no, well we can all.
I'm not a scientist.
Okay. We're all scientists.
Can you tell the difference between ice water and boiling water?
Anyway, nice to meet you.
See what we've been tricked into doing. But you had to test that. You know, when you were 3-4 years old, you go, oh, that's hot, that's cold, right? That's the beginning of science. Oh, that hurt. That's the beginning of science. This is soft. Oh, that floats. That's science.
Science,
that boils.
geometrically, has a number meaning. That number equates to deception. So I don't believe on science.
I follow the scientific method. That's why if somebody says to me, but scientific method is the way to go. But they've done pseudoscience in recent years. Pseudoscience.
Deception.
So no, I think that we all have the intellect to test the world around us.
Yes. Measuring the earth isn't scientific. No. It's geography.
Yeah.
Geometry.
You just go up the mountain, down the mountain, and so on. Yeah.
Geometry, Dave.
Let's see what you guys are up to.
You're not worthy.
You might learn something.
Hey, you guys got something to teach us? I'll teach you that.
I don't know. I actually don't. I was only asking what people believe, and I get fucking abuse, you know.
No, but have you looked at what happens when you run electrodes through that water? That's not water.
No, I haven't.
Guys do experiments of this on YouTube.
I actually didn't come over to challenge anyone. I actually asked, do you all believe the Earth is flat? I was just curious.
I think it's an orange. Our universe is like a big orange. Or big apple, and we live inside the apple. See, if you had to slice the orange down top to bottom, or apple, let it fall open, and inside there you got the seed pod. If I made this apple 1 trillion times or quadrillion times big, those seeds look like continents now. So in nature, she shows us that we always have to have a skin. So I say, yeah, we have to have we're in a bubble. We don't know what's outside of it, but we're in some side of orange, and we're the tiny little things thinking we know all of what's going on. We can't get out the pith, let alone the peel. So we don't know what's beneath our feet more than 8 miles, 7 miles. That's as far as they've gone in drilling. And then how does gas and your liquid and whatever, when it settles that bottle, even if it's on a slope, the water will find level. The water will show you level. And if I made that bottle 10 million times bigger, I could do the same experiment if I was strong enough to hold the bottle. So why not our lakes? Why not our oceans are also water? Well, we're told that gravity, the force that pulls the bottle back to the floor, is enough to now cause things to form a sphere, and those spheres to float, and those things to hold water to the underside of them, and for human beings to have no senses such that they could even detect that they were now no longer as perpendicular to that original starting point. They're now here. Like I flew recently from South Africa, 11 hours, quarter of the globe, and I'm meant to have changed my aspect 90 degrees, but a digital spirit level and my senses tell me that I haven't changed at all. I have the same landing flatness as I started from in Johannesburg. So no, planes fly over a plane, ships fly over, sail over bodies of flat water.
So, okay, not arguing with you, I was just asking. So like pictures there of the Earth.
Yeah.
Like we can look at satellite images of around Earth spinning around. Is that just made up, deliberately?
So there's a guy called Robert Simmons. This guy here, he's on record saying, "Yeah, I'm one of the artists at NASA, and what we do is we take strips of data and we turn it into a picture. I have to put a bit of blue here, a little bit of cloud there. I use the clone tool here, and I'm not sure about the blue, but if there's a lot of plankton in the area, I'll make it a bit greener, shit like that, right? So these are CGI, but this one here, do you know they went to the moon 6 times? Imagine you and I went to the moon, right? One of the first things we do is we want a selfie of ourselves and the Earth in the background. They didn't do it for 5 missions. They didn't bother taking a picture of the Earth for 5 missions. On the 6th and final mission, when they couldn't be called out and say, go and do it again, they took a picture. And even that picture has got no stars in it. It's easily possibly but no, you've gone to the moon, right? You're going to spend time playing golf.
No, sorry, I didn't quite get, just short answer. So you believe these are fake photos?
They're all paintings or CGI. They're all paintings or CGI. And actually, when you look at this one here, you'll see that the continents are different sizes. America's...
Dad, I want to talk about scorpions.
Scorpions, you saw. Did you go play golf?
Talking about them.
Yeah, no, you won't goad me.
What?
You can't goad me.
No, one of your crew tried to goad me.
Oh, no.
You didn't like me smiling or laughing.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not going to goad you, brother.
No, you're not goading me.
We are the creator. No, whatever God is, it's inside you.
One of your crew was goading me.
Sorry about that.
He was trying to provoke me into a fight, and I didn't know.
We don't like that.
Yeah, well, I think he might be gone. It's the guy in the Ralph Lauren. He tried to provoke me into a fight, and I said no.
Oh dear.
I'm telling you, he was aggressive. He used abusive language, and he tried to goad me into hitting it.
That's not necessary.
That guy, is he with you? The guy in the Ralph Lauren?
No, I travel alone. But I go to Speaker's Corner a lot, and I get a lot of people talking to me there. So I'm used to people having lots of questions and lots of doubts. That's okay. But it's good that you hear me say that I think, because I was atheist 7 years ago, but it's good to hear me say that I think that God is in you and you are the Christ. Whatever Christ was trying to tell us, he was trying to tell us that you are the center of the wheel, you are the hub, you are the divine spark or the sovereign entity here. This is your universe. Me, I'm visiting yours, which is why when I come, I visit with respect. I knock on the door, can I come in?
Yeah,
that's how I treat people, because I know that that's how I want to be treated, and how we should treat each other if we are God's incarnation, looking to have a human experience in this avatar. You never die. You go back to your higher self when you finish with this body. You cycle on again. Flat Earth is just, for me, was a gateway, because I was, as I said, atheist 7 years ago, and I found this, and it took me back to my Bible days as a kid, because I'm like, in the Bible it says it's flat, in the Bible it says it's not moving. You know, that's what I told my preachers when I was 12, 13 years old. I teased them about it.
So then, like the Jehovah's Witnesses, they try and say that the Bible tells us that it's round.
Yeah, round like a stamp. It says in Job 42.
Yeah, but they interpret that as it meaning
spherical.
It's a sphere. Like.
But God looks down on the circle.
I don't know.
Well, God looks down.
They interpret it to mean that it's a sphere.
Okay. Well,
I actually believe you. I agree with you. I think the Bible says it's flat. But I didn't know any better back then.
It says it's not moving.
It doesn't really give much info
it
either
doesn't
way.
Say
the Earth is flat. No,
he
not
created
in as
it.
many
Not
words,
like that.
no.
But he says he created it set upon pillars and unmoving. Okay, so I don't know that there's pillars, but it does say it's unmoving, and we feel that it's not moving, and we see like the stars are moving. Aries' failure in 1800s proved that it's the stars that are moving. He was the Queen's astronomer, and he came up with this.
He says if we're on a round Earth, we'd be moving all the time.
If you've got a helium balloon,
and that's when someone has got
put a
autism.
camera on it, so it's
It would be
floating
moving
off
all the
ground,
time. Oh, he's a pilot.
and film the ground. and
Now my
film the
son's got
sky.
autism, and I said,
stars
because he's
rotating.
been looking into flat
ground
Earth, so I
don't
says, now you know what you know. Is
Total
he a
opposite of
flat
the globe
round?
model.
Well, flat of course, otherwise we'd be moving all the time, wouldn't we? And that's from a logical brain, someone who only sees it black and white.
Sorry, my brother, but your religion is lying to you. NASA faked space. NASA never went to the moon. NASA is faking space. I'll try and get the NASA voice.
Aeroplanes prove it, even a joyride. If you're in the northern, begging the question, hemisphere.
Yeah, do you think we went to the
If you
moon?
were tilted at 3 degrees and the
If-
Earth was
You
flat,
think
you'd keep
landed on
going
the
into
moon?
space.
Yeah, I think
Because you're going around the world.
Because
Do you believe
It
we
would have to be
landed on
flat.
the
If the
moon?
Earth was
you're just
flat.
going like
Right, so
that.
No,
if
but
you
if the
believe we
Earth was
landed on the
flat
moon,
and the plane
who
was
actually took
tilted
the footage
3 degrees,
of the
there's a lot of
space?
proof that
No,
it
it
would
was
be
just
too
go
expensive to
in
fake the
space.
footage.
No,
Actually, faking the footage would be way too
actually,
expensive
you
to
didn't let
Hey,
me
you know,
finish
Sandra
my
Bullock went to
question.
space in a movie called Gravity.
In motion,
No,
to
that's
keep
not
it flying in a straight
No,
line.
she didn't go to space, but it looks like she's in space.
Yeah, but that's now.
Are you with it?
Yeah.
When, if you're referring to the actual first moon landing,
Yeah.
at that time it would have been extremely expensive to actually do the fake moon landing. It would have been more expensive to fake it than actually
Then
do
to
it.
go. You really
Actually,
Yeah,
no,
that
it'd
is
be
actually
cheaper.
true. That's
It'd be
proven.
cheaper to fake it.
What's that?
It'd be cheaper to fake it than actually take a
think
rocket.
fake it.
No, it wasn't at that point though. With all the details in the video, it wasn't.
Actually, the question I was going to ask you is, if we landed on the moon, who took the footage of the rocket?
Of the lunar lander, it goes off from the moon, and the camera pans up and follows it.
Who was taking
Who was
the
on the
footage?
Who was on the moon?
Have you seen the little robots that
Answer
climb,
that question.
like the Mars one?
This is 1967.
Yeah.
They didn't have
1969.
robots.
What robots?
They still had it.
They had robots on the moon?
Well, not robots, but little things that move with the cameras.
And do you think that they had some kind of Bluetooth technology then to
No.
send the signal back to the Earth?
No, it's satellite technology.
That's satellite technology.
They still had it.
No, they
Satellite's been around for
You're
ages.
grasping. You're desperate.
Wrong era.
No, there's no way that we even today, you know, 10 years ago, if I went for a drive 20 miles out of the city, no phone signal. No phone signal. Yeah? And even today, you can go to patches and places where there's absolutely no phone signal. But we're meant to believe that they could send a signal 250,000 miles, and actually that it was video footage that they could send that back to the lunar lander or something. The batteries required for this, you know, just to send if you were a ham radio guy and you wanted to send a signal 1,000 miles, the equipment you need for that even today, the batteries and whatnot, the power you need for that, they didn't have that stuff back then. Guys have looked at the lunar lander. There's a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. This guy goes and speaks to 10 of the astronauts, and he offers them $5,000 to a charity of their choice to put their hand on the Bible, swear they went to the moon. Neil Armstrong says, "Oh, no, that's probably not a real Bible. I'm not going to do it." Another one, Buzz Aldrin punches him in the face. Says no, and walks away. Another one runs from him in a hotel room when he's asking these questions. So this same guy, he goes to the Canaveral and says to the guy who's the curator there, "I want to measure the hatch that they came out of in those spacesuits, because we don't believe that the hatch is anywhere near big enough for them to climb out in their gear. A man could get in there, but when they had those big suits on, no, it's not big enough." So there's a lot of things that start to fall apart about this thing. You know that the lunar lander was never tested to work correctly on Earth. They never got it to fly once. 50 seconds in the sky was all they managed to get, and it crashed. And Neil Armstrong had to jettison out of it. That's the closest, only footage we've got of this thing, and it had no body on it. It was just the chassis. Just the chassis. They couldn't fly that. They haven't taken a spacesuit into a vacuum chamber. If you and I were going to space, I can assure you we'd both be wanting to test our spacesuit in a vacuum chamber before we got for the big day. It's called dress rehearsal. And if we've got a vacuum chamber here on Earth, why not use it? Why wait till you get to space before you try it out? Because you can't.
I kind of feel like that's a result of the space race. Have you heard of the space race at the time? The space race?
I'm 54 years old. I grew up in the space race.
Yeah.
I believed all of this.
So every single country was fighting to go to the moon first. So the result, this is just a result of that.
This is propaganda you're repeating to me, son. I had exactly the same belief before. I used to believe in the moon landing. 7 years ago, 8 years ago, I would have said it was real. Now when you look at all the evidence, you know that NASA say they can't go back, that they've lost the technology and it's a difficult process to build it up again.
They're saying that now.
This is a NASA astronaut called Don Petty on record at NASA saying, we'd like to go back, I'd go back in a nanosecond, but we've lost the technology and it's too difficult to build it back up again. This is technology that,
That can't be true.
That can't be true, but it's on, well, that's what Elon Musk said. He said it looks so fake, it must be real. When he launched a car, his Tesla car into space, he's on press conference saying it looks so fake, it must be real. We know it's all
I
been
mean,
done by
that
some
statement can't be true. That we don't have the technology to go there. That's stupid.
Well, you go and call up on YouTube, Don Petty, we can't go back to the moon. Just
No, but is that just the one person saying it?
He's a NASA astronaut. And there's others who say, okay, show us the telemetry data. And the NASA are on record saying we've lost all the telemetry data that prove we went to the moon. We cannot show it to you, so you can put it through a computer and show all the trajectories and everything. Gone. Rooms full of reels of film and data, gone. There's nothing left to prove we went to the moon. And when you look at the lunar lander, it looks like something made of tinfoil and curtain rods and sticky tape. It's when you look at it under 4K high resolution imagery, you go, shit, that never went to the moon. There's nothing, it's not even well built. It was built like by high school students or something, because it's really not that well built. It's a stage prop, and it's done, this is how it worked. CBS and all the news corporations were invited to watch the moon landing on a projection. They didn't get the original feed, they had to film a wall of the footage. And so the footage is very grainy. Most people who believed it, saw it, heard it, and what have you, they were seeing a very sketchy image. They didn't get the truth story. Now we look at it on the 4K, we're like, no. The dust on the feet, you know, they've got a 10,000 pound thruster to land them on the moon. There's all dust, apparently it's a surface of dust, as we know, right? Where's the dust kicking up and then settling on their feet, the gold feet of the thing? Not there. Not there. Go and have a look. It's not there. There's no dust being kicked up. There's no crater. There's no crater. There's no crater here. There's no crater, and these have got no dust on them. It's like it was settled down there. And when we look at these, it's like tinfoil here. The paper's buckled over there. You see that? These are just poles. It's such a rickety thing. It was built never to fly anywhere. It's only a prop. Look at that. Look at the holes and the gaps in that. It should be perfectly sealed in a vacuum. This is why. So this is unfortunately, and all this idea of satellites in space, by the way, you can Google images of satellites in space. Google images of satellites in space. You'll find they're all photographs. They're all cartoons. All right.